hot take, I agree that the blind community can be really toxic and judgy. And it pisses me off. It frustrates me so much. Why can we not just support each other and understand each other and sing Kumbaya? Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. You can use code Molly Burke for 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name. There is nothing I love more than consuming Reddit reaction content. I live for Reddit stories and Reddit reactions, and today I'm inserting myself into it. I am going to be doing Reddit reactions. I have my sighted fiance sitting beside me off camera, and he selected, I think, 4 stories that he's going to read to me. I have no context as to what the stories are, but he's gonna read them out loud to me, and then together we're just gonna discuss what we hear. Now, of course, he is reading other people's words. So I don't know where these are gonna go, what these people are gonna say, if I'm gonna agree with them or not. I'm a little scared, but we're gonna get into it here. And he gave me full permission to interrupt him.
Yes.
So I will take full advantage of that because it's not often my fiance says, go ahead and interrupt me. So let's get into it with story 1.
Okay, this comes from Reddit thread True Off My Chest.
So r/true off my chest. Neither of us are Reddit people.
I'm not a Reddit person. I had to make a Reddit account for today's video.
This was his first time ever going on Reddit. So I was like, oh, what threads did you pull it from? And he's like, I don't know. I don't make a Reddit account and I don't go on Reddit because I know that there's scary places on Reddit. Like, as a content creator, I know there's snark pages and there's like, we hate Molly Burke pages. I don't need to expose myself to that. So I don't go on Reddit. I simply enjoy it via other podcasts and social media clips. But I do know from watching so many of those on my feed as I scroll that they do like r/am I the a-hole? r/blind. Okay, go.
Okay, so I figured we would start off with a positive story because it's gonna get dark, but this first one isn't. This is 3 years after becoming disabled. It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Oh, I love it. Okay, go.
Okay, so nearly 3 years to this day, as a 19-year-old, I was at my friend's birthday party when I smoked what I thought was weed. It wasn't. It was some synthetic plastic spice/chronic. I blacked out after a head spin. Then I woke up a 4-hour flight away in a hospital with no idea what's going on.
Oh my God, this is a crazy how I became disabled story.
Turns out I jumped off the 5th story balcony. It got really high. Jumped off the
Literally,
balcony.
really high.
Yeah. Also, 5 stories is really high.
That's crazy. That's
Like-
what I'm saying, really high.
Yeah, I know.
Double entendre.
Yeah.
Okay.
They snapped their left humerus, 4 vertebrae burst, fractures that damaged my spinal cord, and a fractured pelvis. Over the next 6 months of rehab, it changed me. I went from being a 19-year-old that didn't think about others to someone that can empathize and understand other people's problems. All I want to do is help. I won't be able to walk again or go to the toilet normally, but in the last 3 years, I got engaged, got into our wheelchair national tennis academy, and I'm about to start a business that helps young people with disabilities accept themselves. I'm proud of who I've become, and I wouldn't change anything.
Stop it. Oh, my heart is bursting. I love stories like this because it's so the opposite of the way media portrays disability and the way society's been taught to think of disability. But I feel that. Like, I feel like I am who I am because of my blindness. It's given me so much. Yes, my blindness has taken a lot. The same way this person can recognize, no, they'll never walk or go to the bathroom the same way again, and that has its challenges. Equally, it sounds like potentially like it's given this person so much more sense of direction, sense of self, maybe made them a better person in terms of how they treat others and view other people. And we do hear those stories a lot. Like, I remember, I think it was Drew Lynch when he did his audition for America's Got Talent, and he talked about how the person he used to be wouldn't hang out with the person he became after his accident, and that broke him to realize. And that in becoming disabled, it made him a better person. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. Like, I know that I have the empathy and compassion I do because of the way I feel misunderstood by most of society. And I think that trait in me is one of my best qualities. I know that I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm a good listener because of the way society treats me as a disabled person. And yeah, I don't know. I do think I have so much more passion and purpose and direction and drive. I'm more ambitious than I might have been if I could see. So I really like that story.
Okay, well, I'm glad we started off happy because the next three are not.
It's all downhill from here. Okay. Before I get into the next story, I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Squarespace. I've been hosting my website on Squarespace for as long as I can remember at this point. But over the last year, we totally revamped it and gave it a much needed facelift. And we used one of their newest tools to help us. Design Intelligence uses cutting-edge AI to help you build a beautiful, bespoke online presence for your business or brand that fits your unique needs. All you have to do is answer a few quick questions, and then it helps generate the website for you. Of course, you're able to tweak it from there, but it really makes it so simple and seamless. And once your website is up and running, you can make money immediately by selling content. You can sell anything from courses, videos, blogs, or memberships. And then you can set up recurring revenue by putting up a paywall. Just set the price, and then you decide whether you want a one-time payment or subscription. Even if you don't make content, there are still ways to make money on Squarespace by turning any lead into paying clients, using proposals, estimates, contracts, and even invoices all through your website. So if you're ready to get building your Squarespace site, head to squarespace.com/Molly Burke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name.
This is Reddit, r/disability is where this comes from. The title is, I've been disabled for 19 years now, and I want to share this story with people who will probably understand. I'm turning 39 next month, pushing 40, and I have nothing really to show for it in terms of financial stability, because 19-year-old me went and got PTSD. I'm sure some of you on here know that when you have an invisible disability in particular, you have to deal with judgments of people who don't think you're disabled at all. I lost a lot of friends because they thought they were more qualified than the X number of people with PhDs who have evaluated me over the years. And as I'm sure a lot of disabled Americans here know, Social Security payments, being what they are, a lot of times, translates into one needing additional financial help. After about a decade of receiving help, we got notified a couple of months ago that we make too much for food stamps, followed last week by a letter saying that they made a mistake. We've made too much for the last year, and now we owe them $6,000 back. Federal law says that it doesn't matter who made the mistake, they're still going to be squeezing blood out of a turnip, so to speak. My wife, who is disabled as well, and I spent years maneuvering ourselves into a financial position where we were almost doing all right. We managed to nickel and dime our way over the last decade to build up our credit scores and be able to make things work well enough that our lives weren't one financial crisis after another. COVID, then inflation happened, and we were grateful that COVID rules extended our food stamps for a few years because we all know what the price of groceries have shot up to. But while we always knew that help would eventually end, we never expected them to tell us that we would be facing financial ruin because they neglected to account for $20 a month. All of this because they didn't account for $20 a month. They freely admit that it was all on them, but it doesn't matter. And now I'm trying to figure out ways to sell my body on the internet just to be able to keep going financially. I know that unfortunately I am not the only person here with a story like this.
Is that it?
Basically, there's more that you could read in the comments of people going back and forth with this person, like trying to give them recommendations on what to do and like actions to take from a law perspective and that kind of thing. But yeah.
We went from a story that warmed my heart to one that breaks my heart and one that is unfortunately very common. I firmly believe that the systems put in place to support disabled people are actually designed in a way that keeps disabled people in a poverty cycle, keeps disabled people dependent, and it's truly a systemic failure. It's extremely frustrating. It's one of many reasons I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and I don't want to misquote the statistic, but I think it is something, we know 80% of disabled people in America are unemployed. And I want to say it was something like 80% of the disabled people who are employed are self-employed because it is like so tricky to get jobs. And then once we get the jobs, it's so tricky to deal with ableism within workplaces. Like one of the biggest fears I grew up with was the unemployment statistics that caused me like a lot of deep-seated trauma. I talk a lot about it in my memoir, Unseen, How I Lost My Vision But Found My Voice. It is a major topic throughout the book, like the weight I carried and still the anxiety it gives me still to this day around being the unemployment rates as a disabled person, and the fact that that would mean I would be either reliant on my family or more likely than not reliant on the government. And I saw the way in which the system was not set up to uplift and provide opportunity, but was rather set up to keep disabled people in a vicious cycle. And it just breaks my heart that this person has found themselves in that cycle. It breaks my heart even more phrases like that I got PTSD. As somebody who has PTSD myself, like I know that I did not choose this. I know that you did not choose this. And yes, like having an invisible disability is incredibly difficult. It carries, different stigma, very different stigma than the stigma that those with visible or apparent disabilities have. I often feel like I'm like towing the line of somewhere in the middle, like having a sensory disability. When you look at me, like it is invisible. You don't know that I'm disabled. However, saying I am blind is much easier for people to grasp than saying I am disabled by my PTSD. And so I definitely feel for this person. It holds like a different weight. And I feel like they're kind of discussing like two separate issues in this post. One, the stigmas they face with a non-apparent disability, and then two, the systemic failures that they found themselves stuck in. And I want to say that I think we as people tend to get in this cycle of comparing ourselves to other people and where we think we're supposed to be. Like these benchmarks we think we're supposed to have hit by certain points in our lives. And the reality is all of us are going to be at different places. Like there is no right place to be at a certain age. We can have like individual goals of things we'd like to achieve by those ages, but there is no like by 30 I feel like I should have XYZ because other people have XYZ. We all start at a different beginning point and we all have different end points. And you don't need to be where somebody else is, particularly as a disabled person who is at such significant disadvantages to your peers. There is no point in comparing yourself to your non-disabled peers. And I say that as somebody who's found myself in that trap of comparing myself to sighted girls, and I still struggle with it sometimes, being like, wow, who would I have been? Look at the life they get to live. And at the end of the day, like it's not helpful because it's not the life that I'm ever going to live. And my circumstance is not the same as theirs. So why would my outcome be the same? Even if I'm trying to follow the same steps. So that would be my advice, is comparison is the thief of joy. And in terms of like dealing with the system, unfortunately and fortunately, I've never used the US system and I've been out of the Canadian system for a very long time. So I don't have any good like legal advice, but it sounds like in the comment section people did, which is great. And that's why communities online and like having support is so important, because not all of us have an IRL support group, right? Not all of us can connect with the community in real life, but truly the best things I learn are not from programs set up to support me, but are from other individuals with lived experience. And if the only place to find that community is online, like a place like Reddit, then it's amazing that that's there. Okay, on to the next story.
Okay, so both of the next two are quite dark. They're both pretty depressed people, I would say. I'm not going to read all of them, but I think this person, you can definitely speak to people who are feeling this way to help, I would say, maybe show them that you can have a very fulfilling life as a blind person specifically. So this is r/blind. This is from the middle of their very long rant. It's just one of the paragraphs. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just preface, they're very depressed. Okay, here we go. My life is worth nothing. What does a VI person have to offer to everyone around me doesn't take as being super simple and easy? Nothing. Like I said in my last post, I struggle to watch TV on a 120-inch projector screen. I can only see what people really look like whenever I'm on my phone, and my phone is literally touching my face. I have to rely on everybody for transportation, rely on other people to help with very, very simple tasks. Where's my phone? It's right there on the couch. Where is room 255? It's 5 doors down. On the left, I can see it from here. Is it safe to cross the street? Yes, it's been safe for 5 minutes. If I didn't have a visual impairment, I could easily do these tasks. I wouldn't struggle to cross the street without fearing being hit by a car. I could be able to find my phone in 2 seconds rather than walking around my house for 10 minutes trying to find it. Would actually be able to cook stuff without screwing it up because I couldn't see what I was cooking. I would be able to read instructions on the packages instead of having to wait and get my phone out and then zoom in on the package to read it. My phone dies. When my phone dies, my eye is pretty much died too, because without my phone, I can't really see or read anything. And they go on and on and on and on, so I'm not going to keep reading it, but they're feeling very burdensome and very worthless, and I feel like you can...
Yeah, I've got lots to say.
Lots to say.
I think overwhelmingly what I'm hearing is a blind person who has not been given access to learn coping skills. Because every single one of those challenges can be overcome when you learn the right skills, when you come up with systems, when you have accommodations. I think right now, this person sounds like they are trying to be a sighted person. And as long as you try to be a sighted person, you will be depressed. Trust me, whenever I still find myself in a trap of forcing myself to fit a sighted narrative, I feel like a failure. Guess what? Because I'm always going to fail at being sighted because I'm not. But you can watch TV with audio description turned on. You don't need to see the faces. It'll tell you everything you're missing. You can come up with systems to make sure that you don't lose your phone. One thing that I've recently started doing, which has made a big difference for me, is wearing my phone on a strap, like a crossbody strap, around the house. It's a phone case that I got from Apple. They released it this past year, but lots of different companies online make them. You can literally even find versions on Amazon where it's literally just like a strap that you wear across your body. This means I can put it down and use my hands to feel around for stuff or carrying things around the house, but not lose my phone and accidentally put it down. Obviously, is there still moments I do? Of course. But overwhelmingly, that little accommodation I made for myself has reduced the amount of times I need to ask my fiance where my phone is. Being able to take orientation and mobility lessons will give you the confidence and security to cross the street using your hearing. All of these things are things that you can overcome if you reach out to your local services, whether that's government organizations that exist to support you in gaining those skills. Perhaps it's going and staying at a residential center where they will give you all of your life skills. These are things that are always going to feel like challenges until somebody helps you learn how to adapt. But yes, when you go blind or you have a visual impairment, you do need to learn how to live life in a different way to the way sighted people do. And if you continue to try to live the way sighted people do, you will feel burdensome because you will continue to need help doing basic tasks that you are perfectly capable of doing. I think of even things like reading packages, reading door numbers. Great, use an app like Be My Eyes and call a sighted volunteer so you're not reliant on people in your life. You can learn safe walking routes if you live in an area where you're close walking distance to things so you don't have to rely on other people for transportation. Or you could get on, accessible transport lists so you're not always relying on friends and family, but you have alternative options. You can make sure that you're using things like Seeing AI app to read menus or to read backs of packaging to you. You could use the Meta Ray-Bans. Like, there's so many pieces of technology that can solve these problems. And then there's so many little solutions, like in the kitchen, putting bump dots on things so that you're able to independently heat food up in the microwave. Like, there's so many little ways that you can make your life more independent. And when you do, you will feel like less of a burden. You will feel so much more self-sufficient and accomplished, and it will reduce the negativity you feel around blindness. Because guess what? I can tell you, I only feel blind when things aren't accessible and I need help. But when I can do things independently, I literally don't think twice about the fact that I'm blind. That's how easy things are for me now. But it takes time, it takes practice, it doesn't come overnight. But if it's something that you want for yourself, if you want higher self-esteem, if you want to live a better life and feel better about yourself, putting the work in now is worth it for all the years that you will get to feel more self-sufficient and independent and good about yourself. And I want that for you. I want that for every blind person, which is why I share my life. It's why I share how I do things, and equally why I seek advice from you guys when I'm struggling, because I know that I don't have all the answers. And I know that a lot of you have great advice for me. So if any of you have advice for this person in the comments, whether they ever see this video or not, I know that there will be other people who see this video who have felt this feeling. And so leave comments about your suggestions for them below.
That was so good. Another thing that they mentioned in their long rant was struggling to be able to have fun since they lost more of their vision. Can you speak to things that you do for fun?
I mean, there's lots of things that I do for fun. I would say, obviously, like, I'm big into fitness, whether that's like, yoga, Pilates, things like that. But especially when I first went blind, I would seek out forms of fitness that were naturally more accessible than others. So for me, that meant doing like reformer Pilates, where I was on a machine. So as a blind person, I struggle with balance. That removed that barrier for me because I was laying or sitting on a machine. Or suspension yoga, very similar. I always had a hammock, so it removed the barrier of balance. Finding accessible sports. So doing downhill skiing for the blind, horseback riding at a stable that specifically worked with disabled riders. When you seek out activities that are adaptive, it's naturally going to be easier and more fun, and you'll get involved with the community, which I think is really, really huge. And of course, all of these things are always going to be more challenging if you live in a more rural area. I remember when I was diagnosed, one of the first things that the CNIB told my family was that they needed to live somewhere as central and walkable as possible for me. And it's something they recommend for blind people if and when possible, is to live centrally. And if you don't, and you're finding that like all of like being rural is causing a lot of these issues, maybe trying to find a solution that allows you to live more centrally to where you can be more independent and have access to the types of activities and lifestyle that you want to have. But I'll be honest, like having fun is also a choice. I do a lot of things. My mom says this a lot. Like she's always like, you're so patient. Like you'll go out for a whole day with friends or family to something that is not accessible and you'll just make the most of it. And I always say to her, like, yeah, because guess what? My alternative is staying home alone while you guys go have fun. So yes, even if the activity itself isn't accessible, if I'm with people I love, I'm gonna make it fun. Like, I can choose to have a good time or I can choose to be in my misery. And I wanna choose to have a good time. And I do think so much of healing and rebuilding my life was just making the active choice that I wanted that for myself and putting forth the effort to make that happen. Choosing to find the positive, choosing to be happy, choosing to look on the bright side. All the negatives in my life and all the hardship, it's very obvious. I can sit here and list it easily, but I put in the work to not focus on that, but rather focus on all the ways I'm blessed and all the gifts I have. And I feel like because I put that positive energy out in the world, I receive it back. My life has not always been great, and I know it's so easy to like look at somebody like me today and be like, oh, well, yeah, of course you're happy. You have success in your career and you have a loving fiance and you have this, that, and the other. No, I am successful today because I developed this positive attitude and this can-do attitude and this like, I'm just gonna make it happen attitude when I was struggling. As my way out of that hole, as my way out of that despair and depression and suicidal ideation of like, I don't want to be a blind person, this is miserable, how can I ever live a good life if I'm disabled? I had to shut all that down and say like, that's not helpful. That mindset will never help me get to where I want to go. But if I like put that same energy I'm putting into hating myself, into loving myself, what could I get? And this is what I got. I got a life that I love, that I'm happy living. And again, like that's what I want for everybody. And I know it's within reason for people, but you have to want it for yourself and you have to do the work for yourself. Nobody can do that for you.
Okay, great. So here is the final thread. This is from r/disability again. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to read about 3 paragraphs of it. This is titled, I was vulnerable with the blind community again, and that was a tragic mistake.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay. A very long time ago, I posted about the reasons why I don't like interacting with the blind community online or offline, but I gave them a shot again, and I was not doing well for a while. Some people were being very supportive and kind because in my post I asked for support, but other people were making fun of me. My mom works in a restaurant, and I would have killed to have a job there just to make some money and not feel so bad about myself. But a few months back, before my mom tried to see if I could get a job there, they had hired a dishwasher who was blind, and he got hurt on the job. So, of course, it became a liability. So I couldn't even get a very accessible position to me. And in fact, after I tried to see if I could fill in for the lady that does that because she was going on vacation, my mom's boss, who was also responsible for the other guy getting hurt, got pissed and increased someone else's hours. I mentioned this in the post where I was looking for support with the insecurities that come from not having a job, especially because I live with my partner now, and as much as she tries to reassure me, the insecurity is horrible and sometimes it just creeps up on you. But there was one person basically treating me like I wasn't trying hard enough, saying that surely my aspiration wasn't to fold napkins, really being so dense about the fact that I just wanted something to do and some money before I moved in with my girlfriend, because I do have some from previous part-time work. But I wanted to help her out more, and another person was basically just bullying me, saying that if my relationship was so secure that I felt good about my situation, that the post that I made before wouldn't exist, and that I would have never asked my mom for a job at her workplace. There's this awful culture of needing to do better, be better, and act like you don't need any help in the blind community, and I don't subscribe to that. I know my situation more than anyone, and I'm not afraid to admit that I need more help than some. I don't have to give them my life story, but even the first person that was telling me that surely my aspirations weren't to fold napkins basically implied that I just didn't have the motivation to do more for myself. The problem is I do. I'm just stuck in a really unfortunate situation. I'll stop there.
Hot take. I agree that the blind community can be really toxic and judgy. And it pisses me off. It frustrates me so much. Why can we not just support each other and understand each other and sing Kumbaya? I'm sure like every community is like this, right? We're not a monolith, which means we all come from such varied backgrounds and such different experiences. I'm a big believer that if one blind person can do something, one blind person can do something, meaning that just because a blind person can climb Mount Kilimanjaro doesn't mean all blind people should be able to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, because guess what? Not all sighted people can. Let that sink in. If we don't expect all sighted people to be able to do the same things, why do we expect all blind people to be able to do the same things? We all have different access to opportunity, to accommodation, to just genetics, predisposed to different talents, different interests, and all of those things and so much more kind of dictate what we're going to be capable of in certain ways. And so the judgment of like, well, Christine Haw can cook, so why can't Molly Burke cook? I don't know. I just can't. And maybe if I could see, I couldn't. Why are we judging me? Molly not cooking doesn't mean all blind people can't cook. It just means Molly can't. And so I accommodate myself in whatever ways work for me as an individual. And I don't know why that upsets other people so much, because me accommodating my limitations in ways that work for me do not impact you in your life whatsoever. So like I truly have seen this happen, not just in my own experience, but like I see it with my blind friends. I see it on Blind Talk. I see it in the blind community online in real life. This like judgment of each other. And it's so frustrating because if all of us were sighted, we would equally have different talents, skills, hobbies, abilities, interests, and that's fine. That's fine. And like it's like that last post about the blind person struggling to do all of these different things that I've been able to do for a very long time, but I've been able to do them because I had access to the opportunity to have accommodations made to go to life skills classes in a way that this person hasn't, which is why I suggested they need to seek that out. But they might not live in a place where they've been able to seek that out, where they're able to have somebody come to their house for an hour every week to help them with that, which is why maybe going to a residential center is what they need to do for a while, right? I never had to go to a residential center because I had access to going to the school for the blind. I had access to being involved with the CNIB because I lived pretty central to Toronto, a big city. All of these things change somebody's circumstance and outcome. Your economic background, your education level, all of these things change, right? So it's really frustrating to me, the judgment. In particular, it's frustrating to me that we as disabled people get so much judgment externally already from society. The place we should feel the safest is with our people. And even for me, with my people, my disabled community, my blind community, like it is the place I feel the safest and the most seen and heard and understood. But depending on what room I'm in, it's also the place I feel the most judged, the most belittled, the most ridiculed. And that sucks. And I hate that. And I hate that for some reason that has to exist. And I have to constantly remind myself that like remove disability, we're just all different people. Like we could be on such vastly different ends of the political spectrum or religious spectrum or whatever, right? And so we would potentially butt heads just regardless of our disability. But I hate that this one thing that we do have this common ground on, this understanding that we live in an ableist world, that we live in an inaccessible world, that we face barriers non-disabled people don't, that we still create that judgment internally. And in particular, it bothers me because we are here saying to society, don't judge us, don't compare us, we're not a monolith. And then you look inward and what are we doing? Judging and comparing. So if we're saying sighted people and non-disabled people shouldn't compare us, why the hell are we comparing us? Do you see what I'm saying? So I feel very sad for this person. I feel very frustrated for this person. And this is a prolific issue that I believe we can only solve by being aware of it. And I genuinely think that together we are so much stronger. Together we would get so much further than when we like tear each other down and pin each other against each other. And like this person judging him for wanting a job folding napkins or being a dishwasher. Theoretically, they are also blind because he had originally posted in the r/blind. And that person should understand better than anyone that like, if you have a job, say that person, I don't know, who made that judgment works at a bank. You should know better than anyone that you're the lucky one. You are so privileged to have that job. And we should be using our privilege to uplift the others in the community that have not had access to those opportunities yet. Instead of judging and saying, oh, you have such little expectation of your life, you should be trying to problem solve with them. Hey, like, here are the steps I took to get my job. Maybe you could try XYZ. And like, it just frustrates me because it's so easy when you're already down and you're already beating yourself up, when you post in a vulnerable way to a group you expect to understand you. Even if 90% of it is supportive, that 10% that's dragging you down and reaffirming all the hatred and negative things you're already telling yourself, it's so hard to break out of that and see the positive. And I know from being a content creator, like I can read 100 nice comments on a video and the one comment saying my voice is so annoying and my makeup looks bad and I'm so stupid and blah, 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 it gets to me. Right? And so like I understand this thing of like it didn't matter that so many people might have been supporting him, like these people tearing him down, especially when it comes from within your own community who you expect to understand you, like it truly does hurt that much more. In my book, I talk about the betrayal I felt from the blind community when I found this like Twitter thread tearing me apart. And like genuinely the hurt that I feel when blind people tear me down is so much greater than hurt I will ever feel from any sighted person. Sighted people can tear me down 10 times more. When a blind person does it, it genuinely hurts me. And like, maybe I shouldn't admit that because it's just giving fuel to the fire and it's just giving blind people who hate me ammunition to keep doing it. But like, it does. Like, I have to be honest because I expect better. I expect more of them. I expect that they will understand. And it's the people who understand you the most when they judge you the most, like it really does hurt. So I really feel for this person, especially the fact that they have experienced this and faced this multiple times already with the community, because I do think there's so much value in being involved with the community, in finding your people. And I hope that this does not, completely destroy their confidence in seeking employment opportunities of any level. Like there's no judgment. If you have a job and you are working and you're supporting yourself as a disabled person, no matter what that job is, you're doing the damn thing. You're a part of the 20% that are employed. Good for you, okay? But I also hope it doesn't completely dissuade them from trying to involve themselves in the community in the future, because there is supportive people, there is loving community, and as much as the blind community tearing me apart hurts more than sighted people tearing me apart, blind people supporting me also warms my heart and uplifts me more than any sighted person supporting me ever could. So it goes both ways. Okay. I've ranted a lot.
That was great.
Let me know if you want to see me do more Reddit reactions and what kind of Reddit stories or Reddit threads you think we should search through to find stories. Or if you have like specific Reddit stories, I don't know if you can like link them in the comments section or something. Definitely give this video a thumbs up and leave your comments to let me know that this is the type of format you would enjoy seeing more of. And until then, thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Use code Molly Burke to get 10% off your purchase of a website or domain name. If you'd like to watch another reaction video, you can click over here. If you'd like another sit-down chit-chat video of my partner and I, you can click over here to hear a wedding Q&A I recently did. Okay, bye!